Thank you, Julie. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. Myself, Ashwaq Al-Rawahi, Chairperson of IIRSM Oman branch. And today I will give you a quick update about our committee. We have increased our number of people who joined us in LinkedIn, and we are really proud of that because we had small number previously, but we are focusing now to promote IIRSM here in Oman. By having this kind of webinars. For the past 9 months, we had webinars that talk about safety in just safety, but inshallah today we'll talk about in safety or risk management in business aspects. And today we are having our my teacher, Ms. Muthla Saoud Al-Busaidi. She will be presenting today about risk management plan for small to medium entrepreneurs. Ms. Muthla, she's a faculty in the Department of Business and Economy and Associate in Center of Entrepreneurship and Business Incubation at Modern College of Business and Science, MCBS, which the college that I graduate from. And I think we can start now. Ms. Muthla, thank you very much all for your attention.
Thank you so much, Ashwaq, and thank you, Julie, for the introduction. I am honestly very excited to talk at this webinar today and be part of the IIRSM community. I'm very proud of my student Ashwaq for being the president of the Oman branch. It's such a great honor that one of my students is handling this and has invited me to talk on this platform. So welcome everyone. I hope you are excited as much as I am. Ashwaq told me I can choose any topic that I am passionate about. If anyone have heard about me, I am very quite passionate about entrepreneurship. And this topic that I particularly chose today is I chose something that not a lot of entrepreneurs or potential business owners would even think about doing, which is the risk management plan for small and medium enterprises. What I like to call it informally is basically how to do a plan B in case anything goes wrong. It's a topic that is not much discussed, but there is it's a few simple steps. I'll go through the steps in a bit. But before that, I think it's important that you get to know who I am and why did I reach to this passion of entrepreneurship today. As Ashwaq mentioned, my name is Muthla Al-Busaidi. I am currently teaching entrepreneurship at Modern College in Oman. But where have I started? So I did study my bachelor's in the UK, graduated 2015. If anyone has studied business administration, they would probably have the same question as I did, was what should I do even now? So I didn't get enough of education. I decided to continue with my master's in finance and management at the same university. I'm a very loyal alumni of University of Kent. So I try to specialize in a weakness of mine just to challenge myself a bit more. Obviously far away from finance where I'm specializing today, but it was definitely something interesting, and I always do encourage my students to basically try to be in an area where you're not comfortable at. That's where you get more creative. So I've done that, and then once I came back to Oman, I took the first job I got offered, which was in the hospitality sector. I was in the back office, so sales and events department. If anyone here is working or has worked in hospitality, they will definitely understand the back office is not the same as the front of the hotel. Things are very, very different. It has matured me. That 1 year I've worked in the hospitality sector has matured me more than where I would think I would have worked anywhere else, especially in learning how to increase my skills in terms of professionalism. It has grown me and shaped me who I am today. However, that's not where I see myself in the future. I knew that academia is really something that was within me since a young age. I loved sharing knowledge. I loved teaching my peers. I loved also just helping someone get that idea or grasp that idea as simple as possible. So I started working at Modern College since 2018. I tried out a few courses and in management, obviously. I told them, let's keep finance on the side. I realized entrepreneurship, there was a lot of gray areas there. I wasn't an entrepreneur, but I really wanted, once I started researching, becoming more of an entrepreneurship educator, I realized there is a lot of gaps here. There's a lot of issues that and myths that people aren't aware about the entrepreneurship world. A lot of people find it scary, find it risky, find that it is the first thing that's going to happen is that their business is going to shut down. They might fail. Failure is a very common psychological reason that a lot of people fear when they get into the entrepreneurship world. Even if they have the great idea, they might have the best partner, but still, I did realize in my research that we need to find a lot of solutions to a lot of the entrepreneurship myths or problems that exist. Before I get into the problem and the solution that I would love to share with you guys, I thought it would be a great idea to kind of have more of an understanding or aspect of how many of the audience here actually have their own business. I was wondering, Ashwaq or Julie, can you guys help me with that? So that is my first question.
Yep, I'll monitor the questions area for you.
Okay, that's great. So the reason why I'm asking about how many people own their business is because this really relates to my next question, which if you do own your business, do you actually have a management plan? So I would love to see in the chat box, yes, we have a business, or yes, we have a business. No, we do not have a risk management plan. Or yes, we have a business. Yes, we did prepare a risk management plan. So let's see.
No feedback as yet.
Okay, so maybe it's fine that I do usually have audiences or that don't have a business. However, even if you don't have the business yet, you might want to start later on. The statistics or research shows so many people might not run their business currently, but have a plan to run it later on, or want to save up money till they open up their business. So you want to understand what it's like to be in the entrepreneurial world. You might want to understand what can I do to not fail. So being on this type of platform is a great first step. It's a great first step for any potential entrepreneurs to know how to manage their businesses. Because I'll just move on to the next slide, but please let me know if anyone wants to put any input later on. The problem is that even if you didn't taken a course in entrepreneurship, the last thing you would think about is having a backup plan. The first thing that you will do, and I think Ashwaq and a lot of my students have learned, is to do a business plan report. A business plan report is already a hefty, long report that investors will look at, banks, if you're looking for a loan, any possible person who wants to a stakeholder who wants to interfere in your business would look at the business plan. So the last thing in any entrepreneur's mind, honestly, is to do a risk management plan. And then this is where we lead to the problems, the reasons why business fail. There are more than just one type of statistics, according to Visual Capitalists. So one of the reasons could be that they feel outcompeted. So competition is fearful for some businesses. Another reason could be that they don't have the right team. Not having the right team and having the perfect product or service could also is a major factor that lead to businesses to fail. Running out of cash, having that your personal savings running out is is a big pinpoint into leading to the disaster, basically to the failure. market, not knowing your market. Experiences in the cash flow is the biggest problems that's to leads to why businesses fail. In order to lessen this percentages, in order to decrease the statistics of having small businesses fail, we need to have a study of the market, have the right team, have a great product or a service, but at the same time, we need to make sure that if things go wrong, we have a plan. And the biggest example that I'll be talking through also throughout this presentation is that what happened during the pandemic. We've seen this from our own eyes. No matter which country that you are from, you will realize that some businesses have failed during the pandemic, and many of them have, because they just didn't know what to do when their day-to-day operations just were forced to stop. But there are a small percentage, research shown that some of these businesses have not just done really well during the pandemic, but excelled during the pandemic because they were creative. They had a backup plan. That backup plan made them be back on their feet in a very short period of time. The more we delay disasters that happen, the more we don't anticipate what to do next, the more customers get frustrated. And if customers get frustrated, what do? They just move on to the next competitor. They just will find another way to get that product or that service that they need. So as business owners, as entrepreneurs, it's important to really try to think of any single risk that could affect your business. No matter if you're considered as a business that has 1 or 2 employees, or you might have 20 employees, a risk management plan is always super recommended for businesses in order to not fail, in order to know what to do when things strike. And you will notice the benefits I'll show you in the next slide. So we do these plans in order emergencies happens, and the theories of entrepreneurship is when an entrepreneur runs their own business, especially when it's a sole entrepreneur. They like to handle everything from A to Z. So if we take that entrepreneur out of the picture, how will this business run? Who will take decisions? Who will handle the important signatures of the day-to-day running of the business? Entrepreneurs kind of put this idea aside, and that is one of the biggest mistakes, one of the biggest disasters for entering the entrepreneurship world. We don't think of a contingency plan. We don't think about who can handle it if I'm not around. What if my own partner also isn't around? What would happen if we're both away on vacations? We have a conference, our business is in another location. Who can make the decisions? Entrepreneurs have a difficulty in delegating. They have difficulties in giving authority to others, or not being fully there 24/7. There is new research about entrepreneurship recovery. So basically, what happens when an entrepreneur goes offline? How did the business deal with that? So the part of today's study is that we try to encourage as many people as possible, no matter how big your business is or how small your business is, to just think about what could happen if things go wrong. Where can I get back on my feet? It's a simple 6-step documentation that would really encourage businesses to last longer than what they might have thought of lasting. The way we do a risk management plan, or encourage entrepreneurs to do a risk management plan, is to make them as unique to the business as possible. The more unique it is to your own style as an entrepreneur or potential entrepreneur in the future, the more you will find creativity, you will find I'll think outside of the box. And we all know what happens when we think outside the box. Great things will go to your business, or you will attract new type of target market that you didn't even know that existed. So one of the first important decisions is to, when thinking about doing a risk management plan, is thinking about a way that is unique to your own type of business, to your type of industry. lots of benefits that could affect your business. The first and the center one you can see over here is it improves success rate. The reason why we give knowledge to entrepreneurs, we do this research for them, we try to find solutions, is so that you can succeed more, is so that you don't fail. We try to provide multiple solutions. So having a risk management plan will increase your success rate, will prepare you for any possible risk so that you feel that you already have that plan for it. The goals, and if you have a plan, you have goals and objectives. When you have goals and objectives, your employees know what to do. Your employees have more trust in you. They have more of a directed decision-making process, which for any type of employee gives them clarity, gives them focus. So it's at the overall aspect benefits your business. You have trust with your employees, you think about different types of plan, you increase your innovation skills because you are thinking of something that is not happening at the current time. You're thinking about something that could potentially happen, that could potentially affect a business. So so many benefits, and you will see as we start with the 6 steps of the risk management plan, how we can basically put our plan B in a correct manner. A lot of people will be like, okay, we can do a plan B, but how? 6 simple steps, I'll go through it with you. You might be able to identify some of these risks that are potentially around your surrounding or the location that you are at. So when you are looking at, even if you're not a business owner, you're looking at other businesses that are in your current location, you see some are growing, you see some are failing. You might want to pinpoint to see, why is that business failing? What have they done that this competitor hasn't done? So the first thing is that we usually try to identify as many risks as possible that potentially could hit our location or our business. This is useful it's easier for small businesses because usually small businesses are located in one area or one country, for example. As a business expands, you might open branches, several locations. So the risks, the risk management plan will be a longer one. But for small businesses, you might want to identify the few little risks that could determine your or hit your business. So for example, if there are viewers here from Oman, you will know that due to our geographical location, we're very prone to hurricanes. We're very prone to things that natural disasters because of our geographical location. And because of that, what can I do in order to make my business safe, in order to get back on my feet in case this natural disaster could or could not hit my business? Other than these, it doesn't have to be a natural factor or risk that could hit your business. It could be political. You might be in an area where you're prone to a lot of political discomfort. You identify that there are a lot of political changes that goes on in your country, and you have to be prepared if the new tax is implemented or increased or lessened. How would this affect your business? It could be political, it could be natural, it could be economical, and it could be something just like the pandemic. How could this affect your business? Some countries were affected more than others. So what are the risks? So the first step is just to pinpoint all the possible risks that you are already kind of aware at. This is easier, obviously, if you are in a location where you grew up most of your life. So you are aware of these similar type of things that happen. You've noticed in the surrounding and the environment that these type of risks or disasters have affected other businesses before you even started your own business. So just having that familiarity is a good start in research. So whatever you know that you're prone to, list them down. We move on to the next step. Now we know that the risk, that the natural disaster, the risk or the political risk that could affect my business. I need to now pinpoint the essentials. I need to know what can I do in case plan A, B, and C could hit my business or could affect my business. So let's say Another type of risk is illness. Entrepreneurs never think about what could happen if I'm not able to respond to my phone, or I can't be physically there at my store or at my online for my business. Who will take decisions? Who will operate? Who will talk to my suppliers? Who will talk to my investors? What will happen? What will potentially happen in case I'm not responsive as an entrepreneur? I need to think about the resources that are available. Are they human resources? Are they financial resources that I need to look at? So for each risk that we have identified in the first step, we need to identify again the resources that would help me go back on my feet. So I list down the resources. And now I need to know what is going to be my next step, which is establishing the roles and responsibilities. Again, I did touch upon this a bit at the beginning of the PowerPoint, where I mentioned that entrepreneurs usually like to take things all in their hands from A to Z, which is sometimes a benefit where they're more innovative, but at the same time, you could potentially hit a few risks here. When you take up all the decision making and responsibilities, your employees or your customers or any stakeholders affected will suffer in case you are not physically available or available also online. So the really great, this step is very important, very recommended that entrepreneurs need to establish roles and responsibilities for every single employee that exists. Which employee could actually, we need to identify the employee and the staff that have that managerial skills. In case you're not around, what kind of authority could you give them? What are the capabilities they can do when you are out of reach? Anything that could go wrong in the future, who can take the decisions? What can they do? When we give authority or we give responsibilities to people in our team, they feel they have trust. They feel that the entrepreneur trusts them and they take their job more seriously. They innovate and they provide more solutions and inputs to the business, which all leads to great outcomes. So a very important role is, in case you are out of reach, you need to identify all the team members that could possibly take tasks. When customers, I'll give you a simple example. When we go to a store and you require the help of the manager, and the manager is on a lunch break, how would you feel? You feel frustrated. You feel like you don't want to continue doing business or buy products from this type of business. So you'll just move on to the next store. Simple as that. Competition is everywhere. So businesses need to think on their feet now. What could go wrong? So if manager A is not around, who will take up the next role? Which other employee can also have that responsibility or are aware of the things that goes on in the business? Obviously, pinpointing more than one staff and giving them that kind of authority is also very, very important. If one is new, it's important to train them in order to know what could happen if you are not around, if you're out of reach, even simply if you're on vacation, who can take up the decisions? You don't want to be disturbed. No one wants to be disturbed on vacation. So step number 3 is really important. It's something that a lot of entrepreneurs kind of neglect because they think they can be reached and they can work 24/7, even in their sleep, but that is unrealistic. The 4th step is securing insurance. When businesses, especially startups, start their business, they want to save as much money as possible. They want to invest money in their product and their service, maybe in marketing the most, because they want to get customers. The last people will try to save up on, statistics show that is on insurance, which is honestly one of the most important things in a risk management plan as well. Our business insurance doesn't have to be according to our store. If we have a physical store, we need to ensure that. That will be very important in case natural disaster hits and your store is greatly affected. You want to be back up on your feet as fast as possible. But there's a lot of misconceptions here with insurance that it's just the store. It's not just the store. You want to insure equipment, machineries, expensive machineries in your business. A lot of business owners invest so much in specific machineries that require them to do their day-to-day operations. So if that machinery suddenly that there's power cuts going on, there could be a flood, unforeseen flooding, that if your machinery just doesn't work anymore, you want to be able to have that insurance to get another new machinery that would work as well, as fast as possible. So insurance doesn't have to mean insuring your entire business as a store. It also could be equipment. Another thing that I get approached at when people tell me, but we have an online store, we have a service, we have an application, we have a website, we don't need insurance, we're good. Again, there are some things that you can do in order to ensure that. Sometimes having a service, one of the most things that an entrepreneur would invest on is the software. A software could be as expensive as an equipment. We want to ensure that software will not go wrong. Things are going to be backed up. Things will be safe, basically. So anything that we know that could get affected from our first step, we identified that several risks that could happen to our business. We want to make sure that our money is well spent on, and spending on insurance can save us during some emergencies and disasters. And we've seen that also during the hurricanes in Oman. We had a few hurricanes. Shaheen was one of them 2 years ago. Affected a lot of business, a lot of equipment, a lot of stores, a lot of even stores that were online were affected because they couldn't deliver their products and services to their consumers. So people who had already that insurance were able to fix things, get back on their feet, start again. Businesses that unfortunately didn't have that and things were too expensive have had to lead to total shutdown. And this kind of also, what I mentioned in step 4 will definitely lead to step 5, which is backing up our data. I'll tell you, since I kind of noticed that not a lot of people here already have a business yet, but we do this on a day-to-day basis and we don't realize it. Whenever you work on a report, let's say even if you're a student, you're working on an assignment, you're scared that while you're working on this assignment that took you months, anything can go wrong and that assignment and that hard work can leave. And I'm not talking about backing up your data in a USB or on your computer only or in a hard drive. I'm talking about constantly backing up your data in an area or space that you know is safe, that is, you know, that it will not get lost. So what are the type of examples of of data that we're talking about? In terms of business, so we talk about in terms of work or assignments, but for businesses, data is really quite important. It takes years and years to build up a client database, for example. Losing a client database for a business could mean losing their entire business because they don't have the contact of their clients anymore. Other type of data that is super important is the tax filing records. You need to have important legal records of financial records of what goes on with your business, with your suppliers, with your investors. All of these need to be tracked. Sometimes you are questioned about a particular material that you were asked to do 7 years ago. Having these data record safe online is a very important step. As I said, all of these could cause a total shutdown of a business or running of the business. So it's a huge problem. It's a major problem, whether you have a business or not. You need to back it up. Where can we back it up? There's a lot of ways that we can, or resources that we can use in order to ensure safety, to mention it in our risk management plan. For small businesses, it could be something as similar as what we as individuals use on a day-to-day basis, is backing up on softwares like the cloud. So we have the cloud, we have Dropbox, we have Google Drive. I use OneDrive a lot. So I will always never save my task or the document I'm doing just on my desktop, I'll make sure that while I'm saving it there, I'm also saving it on the cloud, because I know that in case my laptop falls in or breaks, it's there, it's somewhere safe in the cloud. So even sometimes having it in one account is not enough. There are businesses who back up their data in more than one account in case they forget, for example, a simple thing as their password. So they try to back up their data in more than one type of sources. For bigger companies, they would use automated systems. Yes, OneDrive and all of these type of softwares do have automated system, but if you have a larger company, or maybe you guys noticed working in a company, wherever size it is, sometimes they use their data is more important than any other business. So they would use softwares like VM, there's Data Protector, an external contractor who basically backs up your data automatically. So there's different ways to ensure that your data isn't lost. Before we conclude, there is a very important step, which again, something that we neglect as entrepreneurs or as educators. They kind of neglect also informing the entrepreneurs. You need to review your backup plan. You need to review your risk management plan an average every 6 months. So once a year with your team members, you sit down, open up your risk management plan and go through it. Why do we need to go through it? We've already done so much work to build all these 6 steps. Why should I go through my plan? Very important scenario and very typical type of scenario. Maybe you looked at this type of, you took a course, you've done your risk management plan, you started your business, and you're like, I'm safe, I'm good. My business is steady, it's increasing gradually, things are looking good. But after 7 years, one of the risks or an emergency has occurred, and you remember that you have a risk management plan. You remember, okay, I remember 6 years ago when I started my business, someone recommended that I should do a risk management plan. So let me see, what did I actually write back then that could, now I need to use it. I need to use my plans. I need, a disaster has struck. You open the plan and none of it is applicable. Yikes. Very major problem for these businesses, because what happens when we don't review our plans? Things become outdated. Unfortunately, things become not what it was. You might have new products, you might have new services that you introduce that will not be applicable to your plan. You might have an entire staff change. So the people that you have mentioned in your plan to take authority in case you're not around or an emergency such as now hits are not there anymore. You have new staff with different characteristics, knowledge, or backgrounds that you might need to rearrange who will take authority, who will take the decision making. When things are outdated, it becomes useless, and all the time and effort that you have built in to actually make this plan will go to waste. So that's why we really, the last thing that we have to recommend in the risk management plan and research is to actually review your plan, to update the plan, continuously update. Also with insurance, you might have mentioned in your risk management plan that you insured an equipment for 2 years and then you realize it's expired. You need to look at all of these important deadlines in your risk management plan. Some businesses might be a long, hefty document. Some of them might be simplistic and straight to the point. According to the industry, according to the size, according to your location, your risk management plan could differ from one business to the other. Following these steps and going back and forth on it would help you make your business safe. I know I talked a lot about having your business, saving your business, but we can implement this on our day-to-day running of our life. In my personal opinion, I realized that anything could go wrong with my day-to-day tasks and roles. I need to understand that I need to check what could go wrong in case I'm not available, someone else is out of reach. You can implement this on your day-to-day equipment or roles, or your future plan, for example. I have a business, but I haven't started it yet because I know that these risks exist. Simply because these risks exist does not mean that I can make plans for them or I can make backup plans for them. It's important to actually remove that fear from our mind when we enter the entrepreneurship world and say, okay, I'm willing to take this risky phase of my life and opening my own business or starting my own business. I can make some plans in order to know that in case my personal savings get lost, I have something. I have a plan in case things go wrong. So it's really simplistic, but it is greater for businesses in the long term. It's greater for anyone in the long run to succeed longer. And as I said, it does give an entrepreneur so many chances to be innovative. That is actually the simple 6 steps that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. I am really open to any type of questions you want to ask me to do with risk management or with the entrepreneurship world. As I said, this is my passion. I'm currently working on being an entrepreneurship educator. I want to provide more solutions to the problems that we also noticed that happened around us. You can contact me obviously on my emails. There's my personal email and my work email. But I guess we can now, Ashwaq, give the floor to some questions.
Hi, it's Julie. I've got the questions
Hi,
for you. I
Yeah,
must
that's
apologise. We did have some feedback early on, but I had a technical issue and I couldn't see the questions. So
that's fine.
We did have a couple of comments to your early question. Yes, we have a business,
Okay.
but we don't have a risk management plan. Have a business, no plan. So that's quite common.
Okay,
so we'll start off with some positive feedback from Frank. First class webinar, very, very knowledgeable presenter, which is nice to know.
Thank you so much. I'm glad.
So let's have a look at the first question. How to make perfect business plan to avoid failure after COVID-19 crisis? What's the best business to start regards ASEP?
Okay, that's a really great question. So a lot of people feared to start their business after pandemic because of how much of the day-to-day operations had to stop. For people who want to start their business now after looking at, and we saw a lot of research and studies on after the pandemic, is that it's important to have more than one type of platform. Relying on a single platform could cause you a lot of limitations to you. I'll give you an example. It's a large corporation, but we've learned a lot of small businesses have learned from this major corporation. I don't know if you guys have heard of Primark. So Primark have really relied on, or used to rely pre-pandemic on their physical interactions with customer experience, entering that huge kind of store with so many different options. So that was a very important aspect. But when the pandemic hit, other businesses worked on their online platform as soon as possible, provided that option for customers. If they didn't want to come to they couldn't come to the physical store, but they can also try to buy things online. Primark resisted this in the first year of the pandemic, completely refused because they thought it was a very short period of time, things will go back on their feet. However, once they realized that most of the business who had the same idea as them, bear in mind, Primark is a huge company. There are a lot of type of materials and resources that they would sell. It wasn't easy for them to go online or to go fully online. As the years went by, they had to close down some of their physical stores. So my point is, have more than one option for customers. I wouldn't say a physical store is the right choice, or just an online store, because sometimes not online stores make sense. It will depend on your industry, it will depend on your market and your product and your consumers. So once you take all that in mind, think about how can I reach my customers the most. Sorry, it took long with that answer.
Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
conscious of time, so I'll keep going until Ashwak tells me to stop, because I know it's getting late in Oman. Okay, so
No
the
problem.
next question is it business continuity presentation or risk management? That's an interesting one.
I like that. It could be I honestly, when I first thought about choosing this topic, risk management was part of a course that I used to teach, but I wanted to really expand on it. There's a lot of research on it. And yes, it could be a contingency plan, because you want to know how to survive. You want to know what could you do in case ABC strikes. So it's I would say it's both.
Thank you. I would have said the same as well.
Yeah.
So another comment here from Mohammed, very informative webinar, thank you. And
Thank you.
Another question here. This appears to be more crisis management. What about occupational risk?
Okay, occupational risk is, as I was trying to relate, to be honest, while I'm giving you the examples of small businesses, occupational risk could similarly relate, but we wouldn't follow the exact same steps. That's it's not completely, but it is a different areas. You would take some things from the 6 steps of the risk management plan for SMEs here that you can use it in occupational risk, but that will be another topic for another day.
That's a very good answer.
Yeah, I think it would definitely take another day for that.
Yeah. And then the next question, this well, it's more of a comment from Frank. Why not work with SMEs to produce a risk management template, for instance, IIRSM, Chamber of Commerce, education sectors, to support entrepreneurs in Oman? That's a big compliment to you.
That is, I would love to do that. I would love to expand more on my research and make it more locally. Before I could, because as I said, each location would have different risks. So we need to study our risks per location first in order to provide the best type of solution for businesses. But thank you so much, Frank. That was a great compliment. I appreciate it.
If you want to work with Ashwak and the branch to put a survey out to the members, I'm sure we can facilitate that for you for IIRSM.
Yes, I would love to do that. I'll work with Ashwak, inshallah.
Okay. How are we doing?
Do we have any
questions? Ashwak? We do have a couple, but there's a couple of long ones here, so I'm not sure how much time we've got. Another comment saying informative and useful webinar. Thanks very much. So this one's from Mo here. I'll try and read this. It's a long question, so I'll try and do it justice. Generally speaking, local enforcement authorities, SME should not allow any small business without confirming sufficient funds or bank guarantees. However, there will be a plethora of complexities. 1, loss of time. 2, loss of reputation. 3, loss of employee morality. 4, commercial crisis. 5, being seen only cost control as priority rather than quality and safety. Number 6, lack of involvement of the local enforcement authorities periodically. Number 7, must have a government audit strategies to track the small businesses. And number 8, CPD of the management administration parameters. And number 9, and the final one, nowadays low tender bidding of projects has to compromise with safety and quality. That was a long and very good question.
This is a very good question, which I noticed that he had comments on a lot of the government involvement in the day-to-day running of this small businesses. I'm not quite sure what the question at the end is, but I will put a point here that, because we didn't touch upon a lot on what type of political risk that could go on. We need to identify the type of, let's say, political running of our location. So are we in a capitalist country? Are we in a socialist? How would that affect our business? What kind of risk could come from being in a socialist country for a person who has an SME, or in a capitalist? So that's a start off, I would say. With these, you can answer these questions is in a more simplistic manner. It's harder to identify political risk or government interventions because they happen abruptly, but from noticing what your competitors have gone through would be a first great study.
Yeah, okay. I think we can end up today's webinar. Thank you, Ms. Musla, very much for the objective and interesting presentation. The risk steps or the risk management step plan. I actually recently finished the risk management course with the NIBOSH certificate. And yes, there is a lot of thank you. So there is a lot of business risk plan in each industry. So it's different from occupation to business to safety. So yeah, so that's been told. And yeah, and I'm sincerely grateful and honored to have you in the webinar today, Ms. Fatla. Really grateful.
Thank you, Ashwaq. It's an honor to be here today. And I want to thank everyone who listened to me in the past 40 minutes, I think. I would love to give more topics and insights on this. So please do contact me whenever you have a question or feel like connecting with me. I'm also, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can ask me whatever questions you are interested in. So thank you again, Ashwaq and Julie, for hosting me on this platform. I would hope to be hosted here again, inshallah, in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for that excellent presentation. And thank you, Ashwaq, for arranging the presentation today. I'd like to finish up by thanking everyone for attending to today's webinar. And as usual, your attendance certificate will come out this time tomorrow, and I'll upload the recording onto the IIRSM YouTube channel in the next couple of days. So I'd like to wish everyone a good evening, and I hope to see you at our next webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Bye.